Hungary was since mid-19th century part of the dual monarchy, the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, that in 1914 went to war alongside with Germany and the Ottoman Empire against the British, the French and the Russians. Austro-Hungary was on the losing side, and at the end of October 1918, right before the end of the First World War, the Eszter Revolution took place in Hungary, led by Mihály Károly. This led to the dissolution of the Austrian-Hungarian monarchy and the founding of the First Hungarian Republic, an unrecognized rump state. So let's take a look at Romania. Romania joined the First World War in 1916 but was defeated by the Central Powers and sued for peace. However, in the very last moment, it joined the war against the Central Powers again, actually one day before the end of the First World War, speaking of excellent timing by the way, and thus belonged to the winning team. When Romania joined the war in 1916, the Allies promised Romania the area of Transylvania, which was inhabited by many Romanians but part of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. However, after November 1918, that empire was no more, so the Romanians counted on their reward. So, on the 12th of November 1918, the Romanians marched into Transylvania. The Romanians also occupied other territories, such as Bukovina, Banat, Crisana, and Maramureş. Serbs and Czechoslovaks also grabbed land from Hungary, and combined with an Allied pressure, the Hungarian army was on full retreat. The popularity of Mihály Károly plummeted, and in March 1919, the Hungarian Reds, the communists led by Bela Kun, seized power and installed the infamous Hungarian Soviet Republic. Kun vowed to reclaim the lost Hungarian territories, and Romania found itself now in a precarious situation. Think of this, it was basically sandwiched between two communist states. On the west, the Hungarian Soviet Republic, and on the east, Soviet Russia. Although it looks a little bit more threatening than it actually was, because Bolshevik Russia laid claims on most of the territories that once belonged to the Russian Empire. But now there are also other parties involved. Think of the Ukrainians that wanted to install their own state. So the Ukrainians were kind of a buffer. Now do note here that the Ukrainians were severely pushed back by the Bolsheviks, so there was an actual threat. But on the flip side, the Bolsheviks were fighting the Russian Civil War against many opponents on many different fronts. And the Hungarian Soviet Republic was not a strong state either. As historian Robert Gerwart wrote, "Without implementing, backing and with dwindling domestic support, the future of Hungary's Soviet Republic looked bleak. In implementing a radical agenda and enforcing it violently, Kun's regime alienated almost every section of the population, from Catholics horrified by the murder of at least 7 priests and communist plans to secularize church property, to liberals appalled by censorship, arbitrary arrest, and the secret police. Public opinion condemned the regime above all for its failure to cope with inflation and food shortages, and for its own corruption." On February 28, 1919, the Paris Peace Conference set up a demarcation line to where the Romanians were allowed to advance. Also, the Romanians were not allowed to capture several cities, among which Oradea. However, mid-April 1919, the Romanians launched their full offensive, and that month they captured Oradea. Now the real war had started, because up until this point there were only skirmishes, but now it was a full war between the Hungarians and the Romanians. The Hungarians set up their defense line at the Brecen, but the Romanians smashed through these lines and advanced further westwards. The Hungarians sued for peace. Now this was lucrative for both sides, because the Hungarians could now reorganize their army, and also they fought in the north against the Czechoslovaks and managed to capture the southern part of Slovakia, therefore installing the Slovak Soviet Republic. Also, the Romanians now had to fight off the Bolsheviks at their eastern borders. That's right, the Bolsheviks were there. Mid-June 1919, the Allies mediated in a peace agreement between Hungary and Romania, and Hungary was willing to cede over land and even leave the Slovakian territories. However, when the Romanians demanded the Hungarian army to be demobilized, Hungary exited the negotiations and hostilities were resumed. In July 1919, the Hungarians attacked across the Tisza River. However, they were not able to crush through the Romanian lines and soon were on the retreat again. Also, the Romanians had proclaimed victory at their eastern borders, so they were now able to move their troops from their eastern front to their western front. The Romanians counter-attacked and the Hungarian army was in full retreat. And note here that it was not only Hungarians against Romanians, also many Hungarians fought alongside Romanian lines, and here is why. It was then that many Hungarian officers and soldiers decided to stop fighting after being encouraged to do so by the oppositional Hungarian National Army under Admiral Horthy, who wanted the Romanians to finish off Kun's Soviet Republic. Deprived of the support of many of its soldiers, the Hungarian lines collapsed and the Romanians deposed Kun and his regime. And where the Hungarian Reds terrorized countless so-called class enemies during the Red Terror, the Hungarian nationalists now unleashed the White Terror. Countless of alleged communists and many Jews among them were executed in the most brutal ways imaginable. It was a tragic aftermath of the short-lived state of the Hungarian Soviet Republic. The Romanians would occupy Hungary until 1920, and after this, Admiral MacLeod Horthy became the regent of the new Hungarian state. Now, both states, Hungary and Romania, will become allies of the Nazis, and if you want to know more about that, you check out the videos that I put right here any second now. I want to give a shout out to the patrons that supported me. Thank you so much for your support, especially the President, Colin Castleman and Henry Clarkson. Be like them and support me in my endeavors of the hustling of history. Check me out on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, and do not forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. See you later.